There is a mathematical anomaly staring us in the face, a paradox so massive that we have collectively decided to ignore it. If you look at the balance sheet of the human race, you will see something that defies the laws of physics. Every single major country on Earth is currently in the red. The United States government owes over $38 trillion. That is a number so large, the human brain cannot actually process it. The European Union is carrying 14 trillion. Japan is crushed under nearly 9 trillion. Even the industrial giants you think of as profitable, Germany, China, Saudi Arabia, are all owing enormous sums. When you add it all up, our planet is drowning in over $315 trillion of total debt. That is nearly 3 times the size of the entire global economy. Think about the absurdity of that. We owe 3 times more than the value of everything we actually produce, grow, build, or sell. Logic dictates that for every borrower, there must be a lender. If I am in the red, you must be in the black. But if every nation is in debt, who exactly is the creditor? Who is the mysterious figure on the other side of the trade? Are we paying interest to a civilization on Mars? Is there a secret ledger run by a shadow organization? The answer is much more unsettling than a conspiracy theory. It forces us to admit that everything we've been taught about money is effectively a fairy tale. The world doesn't owe money to anyone in particular. It owes it to itself. But do not let that comfort you. That simple phrase, "we owe it to ourselves," hides a mechanism that quietly controls your life, your time, and the value of every dollar in your pocket. We are trapped in a financial perpetual motion machine, and right now, the gears are grinding. To see the truth, we first have to destroy the biggest myth in modern finance. You have probably heard the terrifying story that the United States is owned by China. The narrative goes that Beijing holds all the American debt, and one day they will just call in the loans and bankrupt the American empire. It makes for a great spy movie, but it is mathematically false. While China does hold about $800 billion in US debt, that accounts for roughly only 2% of the total pile. Japan actually holds more than China, but even combined, foreign powers only own a tiny slice of the pie. So, who is the real whale? Who owns the rest? You do. Or rather, the institutions that manage your life. The vast majority of national debt is held by domestic pension funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve itself. It is a circular mirror. The Treasury issues a bond to borrow money. A bank buys that bond because it is safe. The Federal Reserve then buys that bond from the bank using money it just created out of thin air. Then, you go to work, earn a paycheck, and pay taxes. Those taxes are used to pay the interest on the bond that the government sold to your own pension fund. It is a closed loop. We are essentially writing IOUs to ourselves, moving money from the left pocket to the right pocket, and calling it wealth. But this brings us to the hardest part to understand. You might ask, if we owe it to ourselves, why don't we just cancel it? Why not just hit the reset button? It sounds logical. But in this system, debt isn't just a negative number. It is the foundation of the house. Think of US Treasury bonds like the electricity running through the walls of the global banking system. Banks don't just hold cash. Cash doesn't earn anything. They hold government bonds because those bonds are considered the safest asset on Earth. They use these bonds to back up everything else: your savings account, business loans, stock market trades. The debt is the collateral that makes the system trustworthy. If the US government suddenly paid off all its debt tomorrow, the safe assets would disappear. The electricity would cut out. Banks would stop lending. Credit would freeze. And the global economy would collapse into a depression instantly. So, we are trapped. The system forces governments to do something that seems insane. They don't pay off debt. They refinance it. When a bill comes due, they don't use tax money to pay the principal. They simply issue a new bond to pay for the old one. It is like paying off one credit card by opening another, forever. In your life, that leads to ruin. In the life of a nation, it is standard policy. The US has been rolling over its debt for decades. Japan has been doing it even longer. And yet, the system hasn't broken. Why? Because the creditor, the market, doesn't want its money back. It wants the rent. It wants the steady stream of interest payments. But, and here is the catch, this doesn't mean the system is free. There is a cost, and you are the one paying it. Just because we owe the money to ourselves doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. Think about the flow of the river. Who receives the interest payments on government bonds? Major investors, large banks, and asset holders. Who pays the taxes that fund those interest payments? Workers, consumers, and small businesses. The national debt functions as a massive, invisible pump that transfers purchasing power from the working class to the owning class. Furthermore, since the government can never truly pay off the principal, they eventually resort to the only tool they have left, printing more money to cover the difference. When the central bank creates money to buy bonds, they dilute the pool. This is why your grocery bill is up, Liz. This is why housing feels out of reach. Inflation is not an accident. It is the method of payment. They aren't taking the money from your bank account directly. They are extracting the value from the money while it sits there. This is the dark secret of the global creditor. The creditor is the future. We are borrowing prosperity from 2030, 2040, and 2050 to keep the party going today. We are eating the lunch that belongs to the next generation. And the scary part is, this game requires total confidence to keep running. The moment the market suspects that a government can't print its way out, the illusion shatters. So, what is the end game? Is the system doomed? Not necessarily, but the rules have changed. The debt creates a strange kind of peace, a mutually assured destruction, but with financial balance sheets instead of nuclear weapons. But for you, the individual, the lesson is critical. Do not wait for a politician to fix the debt. That was never the plan. The plan is to keep the machine running, regardless of what happens to the value of your savings. The goal isn't to fear the collapse, but to understand the mechanics. In a world built on printing promises, the only way to win is to stop playing the victim. You must realize that cash is not a store of value, it is a decaying asset. The real separation of wealth in this century won't be between those who work hard and those who don't. It will be between those who hold the debt and those who own the real things, the assets, the businesses, the resources that the debt is trying to buy. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as designed. The question is, now that you know how the engine works, where will you stand when the music stops?